I'm joined by the doyen of Brexiteers, Anne Widdecombe, the former Conservative Cabinet Minister, though now a renegade, I fear. Miss Widdecombe, you've left us.
I have left you for the second time. I joined the Brexit Party, as you'll be aware, in 2019. Actually, I haven't left you for the second time because I never did rejoin the Conservatives. I did refuse to join Reform because I don't believe in proportional representation, but I do believe even more strongly in saving the Union. And I think the Union is now imperiled by this Windsor Framework. I'm glad to hear you're not supporting it. Shame on you if you abstain, is all I can say, William. You should jolly well vote against, because I want to see the Union saved. I don't think it will be with this.
But don't you think you should give the Prime Minister some credit for getting a deal that, to be fair, neither of his predecessors had managed to get, nor indeed had Theresa May. So 3 previous Prime Ministers hadn't done this. He's got an agreement with the EU. It does ease some parts of the protocol, and it does provide a break to Stormont. That's surely a democratic benefit.
No, and I mean, you've heard the lawyer's view that all those claims that you've just made on the Prime Minister's behalf, because they were claims that he made, are in fact not borne out by the, not even the small print, just by clause analysis. So, and what's happened is very straightforward. Theresa May tried to get the most awful deal. Boris tinkered with that deal. Rishi has now tinkered with Boris's deal. But we still are in a situation, after all that tinkering, in which EU law prevails in Northern Ireland. Now, the Conservative manifesto said, in terms it said, we will leave the EU as one UK. Well, you know, Northern Ireland is part of the UK, and it's still in the single market, and it's still subject to the ECJ, and European law is still supreme in too many areas there. So, no, I don't give the Prime Minister credit for this. I think he's gone down the path of his predecessors. He's gone in fighting, found it very, very difficult because of the intransigence of the EU, and has come up with a fudge and is now presenting that fudge as a glorious triumph. Well, it isn't.
But on the break, doesn't that actually begin the process of divergence? Because if Stormont uses the break, then it will be able to refuse new EU laws, particularly if they clash with GB laws. It will be able to say that they have a disproportionate effect, will have an effect on the trade GB to Northern Ireland, and that as it begins to diverge, it will become less and less under the control of the European Union, and that is a positive. We may not have got everything, but you and I are both Catholics. We know we don't live in a perfect world, and in this imperfect world, this is better than nothing.
No, it's not better than nothing. There was some loosening of the handcuffs as far as the bureaucracy of trade goes, and that I welcome, but the handcuffs are still on. Now, you've peddled the Prime Minister's line that under the Stormont break, Northern Ireland can refuse any new law made by the EU that it doesn't like. But now read the text. If that happens, the EU can demand compensation because they can say by refusing that law, what you have done is give yourself a competitive advantage away from the level playing field. And we won't have that, so we will have compensation, please. And of course, you know, even if it was a small amount of compensation, if you multiply it by the way that it will be applied, it comes to a large sum. So Stormont break is an EU cash cow if it's ever used, because it's so hedged about with ifs and ands and buts. They're very hard to use anyway. And then if it is used, the EU demand compensation. I mean, God bless us, that isn't freedom from the EU. And we wouldn't tolerate that in the rest of the UK. Why are we expecting Northern Ireland to?
Well, thank you, Anne. Whether you are a Conservative or belong to another party, you are as forceful and well-informed as ever. Thank you very much. Don't forget to let me know what you think. mailmog@gbnews.uk.